as
Mhm.
we get into it. But we each picked a male and female for the main categories up front, and then we'll talk about the subcategories that I created on the
Mm.
second half of the pod. So, first one,
Okay.
we start with International Athlete of the Year.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, we've talked about this so many times, so people have heard my pick. I went Carson Warhol and Yulimar Rojas for International Athlete of the Year. It's not including American athletes. Rojas, I think, overall Athlete of the Year for the top 5 marks in the triple jump in history, and she did them all this year. Just incredibly consistent. You look at some of the marks that she did in her competitions that weren't even her best mark. Her second best mark would have been all-time performances, and never had the shortest jump in a competition all year, Gordon. How's that for talking around the fact that she actually lost in Monaco because of the weird Diamond League rules? But I'm going to say she never lost, gold medal, pretty much perfect season. And when you go 4 of the top 5 times in history, for me, that's the thing that sets her apart from everybody else. And then on the men's side, Warholm breaks the world record twice, does it in thrilling fashion in the Olympics. Sensational season for him. So Yulimar Rojas and Carson Warren, my international athletes of the year.
So I picked two different athletes from you. I went on the women's side. I went with Elaine Thompson Hurrah because she was doing it in the marquee event with a lot of marquee attention drawn to it with her fellow countrywoman and Shelly Ann Fraser Price. Also, what was happening here in the States with Sha'Carri Richardson. Sha'Carri was never really a challenge, but the the vocal challenge probably put a lot more attention on her races. So that I mean, there's a mental factor to it, and she did even better than we could have expected. Second all time behind Flojo, and then I went with Mondo Duplantis. You look really at the numbers. He was the only man to vault over 6 meters in outdoor season of 2021, and he did it 8 times. So if you look at the 2021 descending order list, it just says Mondo 8 times in a row with all a 6 meter or higher mark to it, and then the next guy. So
Yeah.
he was just dominating, and I think we kind of are we getting sick of Mondo in a way? We're like, all right, you kind of already done it. That's going to be the challenge for Mondo. Is like, what more can this guy do? He can
Mhm.
dominate. He can backwards vault over 6 meters. He can flirt the world record whenever he wants. I mean, what else does he have to prove? So that's going to be the thing that's going to think the biggest challenge for Mondo these next 5 to 7 years of his
Yeah.
prime. Of like, how does he challenge himself? I mean, he's just so good. I think what Mondo needs is he needs like a newcomer to come in and be like, I can beat you, man. He needs to be vulnerable. And right now he doesn't have a competition that can really take him down yet. So Mondo and Elaine are my international athlete of the years.
Yeah. I don't discount Elaine as we talked about before. I thought Rojas is number one, but Elaine would be right there. And it's tough to compare all-time performances in the 100 and the 200. She was able to double. Rojas wasn't. You make a good point, though, on Mondo. He's a victim of his own success, and he got Athlete of the Year last year in 2020. He got the world record. It's a bit of a Bolt type problem where you have someone putting out all-time marks, and then the next year you think, well, they didn't get their world record this year, but that's their own world record. So you're saying, hey, you weren't as good as the old you last year. You could still be better than everybody else. He did dominate this event. And it makes me think when you're putting together a case for Athlete of the Year, what's more compelling to you? Is it to have another rival out there who's historically great, like Warholm did? Or is it to have a situation like Rojas or Mondo where you can really compile this impressive yearly list where you just completely dominate it? Because it's tough, because you could look at it both ways of saying, hey, this person just completely obliterated the competition. But but if you're going against someone who's an all-time great as well, like Warholm did, and you're still able to beat them, that's a selling point as well too.